Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will learn about designing the navigation bar in our website. So a navigation bar is nothing but it's like a bar which is right on top of your website, which basically allows you to navigate through your website, and it basically allows you to perform a set of actions depending upon the options which are available right over here. So right now our site basically looks quite simple. So there is only a background image and we have some links over here. So now let's go ahead and learn how to add a navigation bar. Now, as this thing is a design part, what we are going to do is that we are going to use a web designing framework which is called as Bootstrap. And what Bootstrap basically does is that it allows you to pretty much do a lot of things with very less effort. So if you were to design a navigation bar from scratch, then it would take a lot of effort and you would actually need to write in a lot of code. But by using Bootstrap, you could do that very easily. So let's first learn how to actually use Bootstrap. So if you know what Bootstrap is, you could probably skip this tutorial and you could design your own navigation bar which you could place on your website. But if you don't know about Bootstrap, just open up a web browser and type in Bootstrap, and the first link which pops up is going to be getbootstrap.com. so you could simply open this thing up, and this is the Bootstrap homepage. Now there are two things which you could actually do. If you have to use Bootstrap, either you have to download Bootstrap and place it on your server or any directory on your server, or what you could do is that you could use a CDN, which stands for Content Delivery Network. So if you basically go here and click on download Bootstrap, it actually gives you a choice to either download Bootstrap or include the CDN. So what including CDN means is that you simply copy this particular link and you simply paste this link in your HTML code, and whenever your computer actually has an active internet connection, this Bootstrap is actually going to call in certain things on this CDN, and that is basically going to include some code into your main code. So instead of downloading Bootstrap, you could simply copy this link, which is this right here. So you could simply right click on it, click copy, and then you could basically return back to index.html, and in the head you could simply paste the link right over here. So that is basically going to include the Bootstrap for you so that you could use Bootstrap. So once you have Bootstrap with you, you could basically go ahead and start working with the navigation bar. Now, as I earlier mentioned, the navigation bar is actually pre-made in Bootstrap, so you actually need to write in a very less amount of code. So go right below the body tag, and here what we do is that we have something which is called as classes in Bootstrap. So you simply type in nav class equals navbar, and navbar basically stands for navigation bar, and then we type in the type of navbar which we want. So we type in navbar default, and that is going to include a default navbar, and inside this navbar you could have a lot of things like let's say the header, back to the home page. So let's create a class for link. So we type a class equals navbar, and that is going to be brand. So whenever you actually want to place a logo, you basically assign it a class of navbar brand, and these classes are nothing but it is some set of code which is already built into the Bootstrap, so you don't have to worry about it at all. You just need to include these classes, and that is automatically going to load up certain code which will help you to build navigation bar. And basically this thing should have a href which should redirect to the home page. So we give it a URL as URL, and that URL is going to be books:index. So once we are done with this, let's close the tag, and here let's give our website some name. So let's say we call it as let's say the bookstore. So once you are done with this, you're pretty much good to go. So now just save the code, and let's see how this thing actually looks like on the web browser. So let me open up CMD, and let me quickly fire up my server. So this is cd desktop cd new site / my site and python manage.py run server. So when we open up the web browser, and if I actually go here and type in could jump onto your code, and instead of having a navbar default, let's type in let's say this should be navbar inverse. So that is basically going to invert the colors. So now if we go back here and if we refresh this thing, as you could see, now we have a black navigation drawer. And also you might have noticed that whenever you include a Bootstrap file in your code, what happens is that it automatically applies its own styling to all the elements inside the file. So you might notice that these things or these books right here now actually have a different representation than they used to have previously. So the text is quite neat, and the font appears to be much more better than the previous one. So this is one advantage of using Bootstrap, that is you could actually go ahead and create sites without any hesitation. And also these sites are actually responsive. That means if you go ahead and if you actually shrink down the size of your web browser, the website is automatically going to adjust itself so that the same website is going to be loaded smoothly on a mobile device. So that was all about designing the navigation bar, and we are actually yet to add a lot of elements onto this navigation bar. But in this lecture, I just wanted to give you guys a brief introduction about Bootstrap and how Bootstrap actually works. So when you go to getbootstrap.com, it gives you multiple options. The first option is to download Bootstrap, or the second option is to use a CDN. And according to me, you should always prefer a CDN because it's much faster and you don't have to actually go ahead, download and install Bootstrap on your PC. So the next thing which you need to do is that you need to copy this link, and you actually need to have this link in the HTML page where you actually want to use Bootstrap. So right now at the moment, we actually wanted to use Bootstrap in the index.html file. So we did exactly the same thing, that is we went on and we actually pasted this link over here. And what Bootstrap actually does is that it actually contains multiple classes or inbuilt classes which we could directly use and create beautiful interfaces with minimum effort. So we only wrote like 5 to 6 lines of code over here, and we actually got the result as a nice looking navigation bar which actually has our branding here. So even if you click this thing, as you could see, it redirects you to the same page, which is the home page. So that's it for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will design this navigation bar in a much more better way, and we are going to add in a few more elements to this navigation bar so that it looks much more better and provides a much better functionality. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.